In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a cold emailing system that actually works for independent sponsors, search funds, and really anyone that's investing in small businesses. My name is Sophia, and I'm the founder of Deal Finder. Over the past year, we have worked with independent sponsors, lower middle market funds, family offices, and search funds like Fireside Strategic, Compound Capital, and PDKMP to generate more deal flow and build proprietary deal databases with AI data scraping and enrichment and cold outreach. This is the outreach process that we use to help funds find better deals more quickly. For some background on me, my name is Sophia. I'm the founder of GTM Advising. It's a cold outreach agency primarily for VC-backed startups. Over the past year or so, started working a lot more with small business investors and helping them build out proprietary sourcing motions. I'm a founder in residence at Antler Global. My background is in startups and consulting, and I went to Boston University. So this document is going to act as a complete guide to cold outreach for proprietary deal sourcing. It is a tactical guide on how to build a cold email infrastructure for your fund. And, just to be clear, it does not detail how to create the deal database, which is something else that we do and something that I will cover in future documents like this and in future videos. So for each section, I've really done my best to go over what to do, why I should do it, how to do it, and examples. So for an introduction, I think it's important to talk about what actually counts as a cold email. A cold email is a type of email that's sent to a recipient without prior contact or a pre-existing relationship. And the term cold is used in a similar way to cold calling, which indicates that this initial contact is unsolicited. Some people will ask, does cold email work? Cold email works extremely well, and it is one of the best ways to get in contact with business owners when sourcing proprietary deals. If somebody says that cold email does not work, you can always add on the phrase "for me" at the end. Cold email works, but it is a skill like any other. You really have to learn and practice and execute, and there is sort of a learning curve. So I will be taking you through exactly how to do it. So about this document, like I said, it's a tactical guide for every step of creating a cold outreach motion for proprietary deal sourcing. And basically every question that you could have about cold email is going to be answered in this document. Some tools that you will need, and I will be mentioning throughout the document, are Smart Lead, Apollo. You will need to buy some domains, so probably on GoDaddy, and email addresses or inboxes. Why you need proprietary deal sourcing. I imagine if you're watching this video, you already have either done some work on proprietary deal sourcing yourself or you know why it's super valuable, but I will also add my thoughts to this. I think everyone knows deal sourcing is really crucial to finding the best investments, especially proprietary deal sourcing, because with all of the competition that we have, especially in the lower middle market space, it's becoming harder and harder to find really good deals. Even some of the big providers, data providers like PitchBook and like Grata, that even ones that once positioned themselves as having unique data that wouldn't be competitive with other funds who are looking at the same companies, have actually changed in recent years, where on Grata, there will be several different funds looking at the same data and the same businesses because it has all the same information. And so that's why it makes it even more important to build your own proprietary sourcing mechanism, because it helps you create a steady, reliable flow of high quality deal flow that, to fuel your own investment pipeline. It will mean that you will no longer need to rely on any intermediaries or brokers or public databases. Developing your own proactive outreach and research allows you to find the best deals that others will not be able to reach. And it's also that finding the right deals is getting a lot harder. Since there's so much competition, you really do need to constantly be prospecting and researching and qualifying new leads to stay ahead. And so taking this method really ensures that you're also top of mind with all these business owners and helps you get the best deals in the end. So what you need to do, you need automation systems and a playbook to help you get all of this done. And this document will help you do that. For automations, It's that you really need volume and scale to reach every single company that's in your investment criteria, and automations are what allow you to do that. Systems. You need systems that are rooted in fundamentals and best practices, but also utilize new technology to help speed up your process. And then playbook. You do need to create a repeatable playbook that's specific to your fund of what works, so you can eventually start getting more predictable deal flow. This will take you through my playbook for what's worked for me. Every single sector will have slightly different quirks and nuances that will need to be implemented on a case-by-case basis to be the best for that specific sector. So a crucial note that I want to touch on just before we begin is that the nature of cold email and standard response rates for cold email, typically lying around 10 to 20%, means that many funds will actually need to change their mental models around deal sourcing. I think that some funds spend a lot of time pre-qualifying deals before they even know that the business owner wants to talk to them. And in proprietary sourcing, this is a mistake. I think it's important to really do enough pre-screening on the businesses that you're reaching out to so you feel really confident that all of them would be a good fit, but then only prioritize digging deeper or spending a lot of time looking into a company once you've actually booked some time with the owner, or that you know that they are interested or thinking about next steps. So I would suggest to pick 5 to 10 data points to look at that tell you enough about each business to know that they're reaching out to. So some example data points that I've used before are employee count, founded date, ratings and reviews, memberships and accreditation, and also owner age is something that we've looked at. It's a different story if there are specific targets that you know you want to make contact with. So let's say you already know that there are certain companies that you think would be a very good fit. And so how you'll think about outreach will be a little bit different for them. When you have specific targets that you want to reach out to, you're probably going to need to prioritize reaching out to them on several channels, potentially getting personal or warm introductions, or really personalizing your copy to try and get in contact with them. But the focus of this deck, I just want to clarify, is more about rapidly finding groups of business owners that fit in your investment criteria and then connecting with those owners quickly and in a scalable way. So another problem that I want to address is what's called the cold email bloodbath. As you might know, if you've done any outreach recently, cold email has become more difficult than ever to do correctly. Increasing regulations from email service providers have created this cold email bloodbath that's really started in 2024. So if you were doing any outreach back in 2022 and even 2023, it used to be that anyone could just send emails to business owners or really anyone, and they would land in the inbox and they'd be able to book meetings with them. But now, due to the ESPs cracking down on all these regulations, you need to set up an infrastructure that allows you to land in the main inbox every single time. And it takes some work, but if you have the correct setup, you will be paid back several fold. Funds who are doing proprietary sourcing with outreach are already getting hit with this bloodbath, and you're probably already seeing your response rates tank, but you'll see it more and more so in the coming months. So if you want to source your own proprietary deals, you need to get ahead of this game. And thankfully, I have been in the trenches and have learned everything about how to stay ahead of all of these regulations. And so I put out all of the information in this guide to show you exactly what you need to do. Part 1 is buying domains and inboxes. You will need to purchase several burner domains to protect your main company domain from being affected by any spam blocks that might occur when doing outreach, and to ensure that your emails will hit the maximum number of inboxes possible. Why you need to buy domains is that we don't want to be sending cold emails from our main domain. And this is because cold emails will get a much higher rate of marked as spam and other negative reactions than our main domain ever would. If any domain gets too many marked as spams, then that domain will be burned and the emails will be more likely to land in the junk, spam, and promotions tab. So because of this, we need to buy cold email domains. These are domains that are similar to your main domain, but they're separate in order to maintain the sender reputation of your main domain. That's really just to make sure that the main email that you're sending from day to day does not get impacted by any outreach you're doing, so that you personally don't start getting into spam inboxes on your main email. So here's a guide to buying domains. You have to go on a site like GoDaddy or Porkbun, which has the best domain options. All of your domains should be .com. Don't use any others like .org or .info or .xyz. It just that .com gets the best response and deliverability rates. There should also be no dashes in there, like you see in conversion dash pages. There should be no weird replacements like hello with a zero. And actually, you should just avoid numbers as a general rule of thumb. Definitely don't use any marketing buzzwords. And all of the domains should be related to your main domain or service that you're providing. And all of these domains should be related to your main domain in some way. So it should have the fund name. You'll need to make sure that all of the burner domains redirect to the main page. So if you log into GoDaddy and go to domain settings, you can add a forwarding address there. We can send about 50 emails per day per email address for each cold email domain that we have. So if we wanted to send 500 cold emails per day, we would need 10 domains. So let's say there are 1,000 emails, we send 50 per day, we would need 20 domains to do that. We can determine how many domains we need to buy by determining how many emails we want to send per day. So for example, let's say you've run some tests before and you know that you will get one meeting booked per 500 emails sent. So if your goal is to have 20 meetings with business owners per month, then you know you need to send 10,000 emails. If you only send Monday to Friday, that means you need to send 500 emails per workday. If you send 50 per email address, that means you'll probably need 10 domains to do that. You'll also need to buy an email address for each domain. You can set up to 3 email addresses per domain, but I generally prefer to stick with just 1 per domain, and you can name these all the same thing, which would be your name at. I suggest that you buy Outlook inboxes because they perform the best. So here are some examples of what domains might be. Once we have our domains, you're going to need to add several DNS records to each of them to validate them and ensure that your emails don't go to spam. And so the main records are SPF, DMARC, and DKIM. I have a guide here for adding all of the DNS records, and I've even added it in here so you can just copy and paste that into your DNS when you have your GoDaddy login. Next is your cold email software. So I suggest getting a public sequencer like smartlead.ai or like Instantly, because these are really good for helping you manage your deliverability, and also they have a nice interface that allows you to create campaigns and also respond to any leads that are answering your messages. The first step that you'll need to do once you get one of these public sequencers is to do what's called a warm-up of all of the email addresses that you've just set up. And the reason why you need to do that is because it will really help improve your deliverability. When you're doing this warm-up, and SmartLead will handle it all for you so you don't have to think about it, it's that we're mimicking real conversations to help build credibility with the email service providers and signal to them that you're sending and receiving at an even ratio. It also prevents accounts from being flagged as spam or getting burned. So it's really important to do this. And that's why I suggest getting a SmartLead account, because it allows you to just sort of forget about it and it will handle it for you. You'll then need to manually sign up all of the email accounts that you made through SmartLead. And SmartLead has a lot of guides on how to do this. So once the emails are set up in the DNS, then you just connect them to SmartLead so you can send from SmartLead. So for some important notes to consider about this process, something that is sort of not intuitive is that It's actually not recommended to track the open rate of the emails that you're sending because open rate tracking actually hurts deliverability. And open rate is sort of more of a vanity metric anyway. It's nice to know, but all that actually matters is replies and meetings booked. So it's not worth keeping on. Like I said before, do make sure that your domains have warmed up for at least 15 days before you start sending. I also don't recommend adding any links or attachments like photos or PDFs to any of your email campaigns because that really, really hurts your deliverability. This is different once people have replied to you. So when people reply to you, you're then considered a trusted sender. And at that point, you can send them links and attachments if you want. So if you want to attach things like that, the emails should really be asking for their opt-in first. You ask like, hey, would you want to see our one pager, for example? And then if they say yes, that's when you send it to them in an email. I also recommend that you familiarize yourself with spin tax because it's very important. I have a guide to spin tax later on in this document. I also don't recommend that you include an actual unsubscribe link, which will be an option when you start using a sequencer like SmartLead. But it is a good idea to put reply stop to unsubscribe or something similar to that at the very end of your email because it makes you compliant with rules like can spam. And if they actually do reply stop, that still counts as a reply to your email, which is actually a positive indicator for sender reputation and will improve deliverability. The next section is building a list. I think an important note as we get into this is that this list building section teaches you how to create a pretty simple list for outreach using online databases that use LinkedIn data and some other basic sources. Something to note is that obviously many SMBs and SMB owners don't have a large digital presence, which is why some tools like these are not necessarily comprehensive for proprietary deal sourcing, but they're definitely a good place to start. I will soon be creating my SMB database building guide, which will show you my entire process for creating comprehensive proprietary deal databases of SMBs. If you're interested in learning more about that right now, you can always feel free to book some time with me, and I'd be happy to chat more about how exactly we do that. But for now, if you're just starting with proprietary sourcing, the best first step is to start with this more easily available data or really the lowest hanging fruit before moving into more complex data scraping and database building of deals. And so this is what this section is good for. So for list building, this is no longer the old days when you had to go pay a VA to scroll through Google and manually write down email addresses in a spreadsheet, because now we're able to export thousands of leads in like 10 minutes by just using softwares that are specifically designed for this. You can build a really targeted list with these softwares by filtering for things like country, job title, company, estimated revenue, number of employees, industry keywords, and even technologies that they're using. So the tool that I recommend for doing this is Apollo.io, and here is the screen that you'll see when you log into Apollo. So once you sign up, you'll be able to search for one of two things. It's either people or companies, and you can choose to look for companies first, and then after the fact, use the find people option to find all of the CEOs and owners at those firms once you have filtered them down to your investment criteria. So as you can see here, Apollo has a bunch of filtering options available, even including some helpful data points like revenue estimates, recent hiring changes, and and several other things like technologies that they're using, any job descriptions that they have open. And so here's an example list with different filters that we put on for a company that was looking in the food and beverage space. Another good thing to do when you're proprietary sourcing for small businesses is looking at Google Maps data, because as you know, LinkedIn data, like the data that Apollo is pulling from, is not comprehensive for SMBs. And so a really great way to find small local businesses with no LinkedIn presence is to scrape Google Maps. Thankfully, we don't need to do any coding for this because there are tools that allow us to do this pretty quickly. And so the one that I recommend for doing this is phantombuster.com. There is a free trial that you can use to test it on a segment of the market that you're looking at. And so I've added the steps in using the Phantom Buster scraper and a video on how exactly to do that. And it will scrape all of the Google Maps data, which is very useful because not every single company is going to have a page on LinkedIn. And so you're getting those additional companies that won't pop up in a database like Apollo. Then the next one is industry-specific resources. So industry-specific lists are probably some of the best sources for getting really good company data in the sector that you're focused on. So for example, if you're looking into gutter cleaning businesses, you definitely want to be a part of the Gutter Cleaning Association, or whatever is the industry relevant association for whatever sector you're looking into, because it allows you to get profiles and key information on potential acquisition targets. It allows you to look at memberships that companies have or accreditations that they have, which can be a very good indicator as to whether or not a company is interested, an interesting company to look at when you're sourcing. So the best way to extract this kind of information from websites and then create outreach lists from it is to use a Chrome extension like Instant Data Scraper, so that you don't have to create your own scraping tool. It allows you to scrape information like owner name, company website, and email address, and then it puts it into a CSV for you, which you can then put into your smart lead campaigns once you've built your scripts. The other note is that there will be industry events that you probably should be attending. And if you're attending them, you'll probably get an attendee list for them. That's also a good source to get lists from for outreach, just as a note. Deliverability. Deliverability is so important because if your emails are going to junk or spam or promotions, then less people are going to see it. And if less people see it, then less reply. And inevitably you will have less deals. So I put together this deliverability checklist with everything that you should consider if you want to really land in the main inbox every single time. You have .com domains only, you have your DNS record set up, you're warmed up for 15 days. A lot of things on this list are things that I touched on in different parts of this deck, so make sure to come back to this part of the deck or this checklist before you launch your campaigns to make sure that you have everything in here. Scripts. So there's a big problem in outreach, not just because of the regulations from email service providers, but also because a ton of people are doing outreach now. So I look at different communities like on Search Funder, and there's a lot of people asking, even a year ago, saying, how do we stand out to owners that are fatigued by getting outreach from search funds? Because especially in sectors that are really popular with funds like these, for example, HVAC is one that comes to mind. It's possible that a lot of these business owners are getting a ton of outreach from other funds like you. And so sometimes they are skeptical of funds that are reaching out to them to potentially buy them. And so there's a few things to consider when you want to stand out potentially from other firms that are reaching out to them at the same time, as well as whether or not they're actually even seeing your message. So here are some examples of campaigns that I've run before that have worked well for getting business owners to get on a call with you. One that was very interesting is that we would set up sort of GLG-like expert interviews, which are really cool because we not only have sourced deals that resulted in LOIs from this method because we had a ton of really great information on the businesses specifically, but it also helped us learn a ton about the sector and also about potential other acquisition targets based on their perception from business owners in the space. So how it works is, in order to participate in these incentivized interviews, we would ask business owners certain qualifying questions about their revenue and their profitability in order to qualify them to participate. And you'd be surprised at how much information business owners are willing to give on their business if you just ask. So our outreach script would be an invitation for them to participate in one of these incentivized interviews if they were interested. Another thing that we've done is benchmark surveys. So we would send out cold outreach with very simple copy asking owners in the target industry if they would be open to participating in a benchmark survey that we're doing. And this was great because we would get insights both on their business and on others and just the industry in general through this method. Then you start building relationships with the owners, or they at least become familiar with the firm name or the fund's name. And so you continue reaching out. You have their contact information or potentially information that they gave to you about their own business on the benchmark survey that you can use in later conversations. Then the other one is a succession planning lead magnet. So we have created assets for business owners in the target sector that would probably teach the business owners how to do certain skills that either the fund has expertise in and or would indicate that the business is a good target company. So, for example, an asset that informs plumbing business owners on succession planning options would be an awesome source for finding potentially good deals, because then you already know that if they download that asset, they're facing the issue. If it's a plumbing business owner that's thinking about succession planning and downloads a PDF to learn more about how to do that, that's a really good signal that it could be a good person to talk to. So why these work? The reason why those campaigns have worked before is because they provide clear value to the owners and position the fund as a knowledgeable partner rather than just another buyer or somebody who's emailing and asking to build their business. Because it allows owners to share insights and also learn from industry data. Maybe they want access to the benchmark report and access other useful content like succession planning that addresses their genuine needs rather than just trying to pitch them on acquiring their business. These approaches they work because they provide value to the owners and they build trust and rapport, which makes the owners also more receptive to further engagement when the time does come to discuss potential deals. So you might take a different approach than exactly the ones that I mentioned, but it's always really important when you're doing outreach to always think about providing value and genuinely working to build a relationship with them. So, for some simple rules on creating a script, do not talk about what you want, only talk about what they want. Frame everything that you do in terms of how it would benefit them or take away a pain that they have. Don't hide your intentions or give false compliments, just be authentic. Your email should also be short and to the point. Don't do any long paragraphs. These people have not asked to be contacted, so they definitely don't want to read paragraphs and paragraphs of text. Always have some way of moving forward, like, if I could help you do X with Y, would you be interested in speaking? And then always try and incorporate any kind of social proof that you can and make sure that everything in the email is very clear in clear language. So here's the Spintax guide. Spintax is a way to randomize specific words and phrases in your emails. The most basic example of how to use Spintax is by putting a variant into your greeting. So hey, hi, and hello are all basically saying the same thing. But when you send the automated email, Spintax will choose one of those variations so that one batch of emails will go out as hey, Mark, the other one with hello. And the reason why is because email providers always look at the content similarity across all of the emails that you're sending. So while you will vary things like personal information like their name or their company name, most of the emails are going to be like 95% similar. So no matter how warmed up your inbox is, clients are still going to flag it for spam. So fewer of your leads will get emails. Spintax makes all of your automated emails sound unique and meant specifically for each prospect that you're emailing. So this, along with sourcing verified email addresses for each leads, shows that you know everyone that you're emailing, you have individualized emails for each of them, which improves your sender reputation. So here's some action steps, and I also included a guide from Smart Lead once you've created your script to launch your first campaign. Inbox management and appointment setting. So when people start replying, you have to determine the best way to respond in order to move things forward. Obviously, no two situations will be identical, but there are some key points that will apply to almost any situation. One is that you should always try and make it as easy for them as possible to book some time with you. So you can send them specific times that you will book for them manually, on top of sending a Calendly link. Whichever one would be easier for them is the one that they will choose. Then also, one of the best things you could do is send them a Loom video or some kind of video that explains who you are and what you are offering, because this helps show your face, get them comfortable with you, and also give them any information that they need to know. Because the last thing that you want to do is get on a call with an owner and they have no idea what your fund does, or maybe they misunderstood what you were saying in the email. So it's another way of qualifying them if you have people watching an email or prospects watching an email before you get on a call with them. Then always make sure that you have call reminders sent to them from Calendly, and this will make sure that a much higher percentage of people end up showing up to the call. Then also, following up in this case is different than what I said before about not putting on too many follow-ups, because that's for the cold email setup when they never asked to be emailed. But now at this point that they've signaled their interest, now is the point where you follow up as many times as you could possibly think of, even for years if you have to. Once you've engaged with an owner that has expressed that they're potentially interested in selling, it's just the start of your relationship. So maybe you'll start going to industry events and seeing them and forming the relationship. That's how deals get done later on. One of the most important things that you can do is respond quickly when people have sent a reply to one of your cold emails. The Harvard Business Review says that if you respond or reach out to leads within 60 seconds of them opting in, you will get an average of 391% increase in sales. Or in this case, when we're proprietary deal sourcing, it would mean meetings booked with business owners. So I actually think that one of the top 3 key metrics that you should track when doing cold email is how fast you're responding to leads that positively reply to your outreach, because you're going to get a much higher bookings rate if you respond instantly when a prospect or a business owner says that they're interested in meeting with you. The next part is CRM management. If you don't already have a CRM, you should definitely get one if you're going to start doing proprietary deal sourcing, because not only does it help you keep track of all of these contacts you're reaching out to, once you get into the deal stage, it will help you manage that as well. And I've included a guide here that shows you how you can directly connect the sequencer like Smart Lead directly to your CRM with a tool like Zapier. It might be different for different platforms, but this is the Smart Lead guide. And lastly, our offer. So we actually do this as a service for search funds, and we do both build and release and full service. So build and release is that we're able to set up this entire infrastructure for you, and it includes basically everything you can think of for cold email that I just went through in this entire deck. It's like putting a coin in a machine and you get a cold email system. So you got 30 domains, email addresses, all your DNS records, Smart Lead, everything. We'll set it up for you, and then your team manages it. And then also we do full service proprietary deal sourcing as well. I hope this was helpful for you. As always, feel free to reach out and book time with me if you have more questions, and I will see you next time.